Neon bleeds across Lower Broadway while pedal steel guitars wail like hospital monitors. Nobody dares to unplug. The tourism brochures promise cold beer, 3 chords, and the truth. Yet the truth keeps tripping over canes, inhalers, and orthopedic braces hidden just out of frame. Today we are following 23 secret injuries and deformities Nashville spent decades spackling with rhinestones, and each revelation lands harder than the last power chord, ringing through the Ryman rafters. Mel Tillis steps into the spotlight first, smiling wide, his famous stutter hitching every greeting, but watch how he weaponizes that hesitation, turning syllables into snare drum tension, before unleashing velvet verses that make stadiums forget they ever laughed. Behind him, the Wizard of Hooks, Brenda Lee, barely 4'9", climbs onto a borrowed apple box so cameras catch more than her fringe jacket. A rare growth hormone glitch stunted her height, yet her volcanic voice still slaps cheap seats like a thunderclap. Ronnie Millsap follows, cane sweeping the risers he cannot see. Record executives once certain absolute blindness would box him into lounge gigs. Instead, he mapped mixing boards by touch and tuned faders by feel, chasing perfect treble the way sighted engineers chase light. Hank Williams Sr. cuts through cigarette haze next, spine screaming beneath his rhinestone nudie suit. Spina bifida occulta twisted hidden nerves into electric agony, and each pill bottle tossed into discarded hotel ice buckets became another verse in a tragedy radio censors pretended was merely heartbreak fiction. Charlie Pride leans his Gibson against an amp, back curving into the letter S, scoliosis tightening like backstage wire, yet he never once canceled a matinee. He strutted through pain many fans would not walk through to reach the parking lot. Lefty Frizzell stands mid-pack, crooked grin slipping under mustache tips that cloak a damaged facial nerve. Stage lights paint half his smile in shadow, but the other half still melts hearts faster than moonshine melts ice. Roy Acuff saws a fiddle with a hand wrecked by a baseball accident. Fingers fused rigid, he grips the bow like rusted pliers, yet every squeal becomes Appalachian lightning modern shredders still chase. Hank Snow, the singing ranger, grew up so starved that bones calcified wrong, leaving him permanently stooped. His posture screamed poverty, but his twang sold prosperity fantasies coast to coast. Don Gibson taps a custom boot against the floor, clubfoot strapped tight, stance angled to hide the twist he battled since birth. Girls in the front row swore he danced like a shy colt, never knowing the painkiller cocktail swishing in a flask by his monitor. Red Sovine limps behind the curtain, hip displaced after a bar brawl nobody dares mention in polite company. Camera operators frame him chest up, yet the limp remains, pacing every spoken word trucker ballad with unspoken throb. Tennessee Ernie Ford inhales from a pocket nebulizer, chronic asthma locking airways tighter than a capo on the 10th fret. On television, he croons about 16 tons, while lungs barely lug 16 ounces of oxygen, smoke machines hissing ironically at his feet. Ferlin Husky wipes sweat and prays his wavering heartbeat holds one more encore. He jokes that he keeps singing Wings of a Dove because angels might actually need to catch him mid-show. Johnny Cash clenches a jaw forever misaligned by a childhood accident. Dentists fitted splints just so he could sleep without grinding, but on stage the ache fuels baritone growls that rattle any loose fillings left in the front row. Tom T. Hall sends verses swirling through tinnitus ringing like freight trains at midnight. He swears the built-in whistle keeps perfect time when metronomes lie. Kitty Wells unbuttons gloves backstage, revealing knuckles ballooned by rheumatoid arthritis. She soaks fingertips in ice water, then picks guitar strings like barbed wire, her migraines flashing strobe lights behind every spotlight. Minnie Pearl tightens the ribbon on her price tag hat so nobody notices the disfigured foot crammed into a custom pump. Laughter masks every limp. Gene Shepard jokes about bone spurs carving heels into hamburger, slipping gel packs inside stilettos so each note rings clearer than her nerves. Patsy Montana tips her cowgirl hat, partial hearing loss forcing her to read pedal steel cues through vibrations in the floorboards, yet she never misses a break. Jimmy Dean straightens a spine warped just enough to tilt camera angles. Breakfast sausage ads hide grimaces, but live audiences taste grit beneath the gravy. Carl Smith's rodeo mangled toe throbs inside snakeskin boots. He stomps hard in twin-step routines, pretending the wince is swagger. Stonewall Jackson's nervous tics flicker like Morse code across eyelids. Directors cut quickly to hide the twitch, but fans swear the quiver adds a tear-line tremolo no studio chorus can fake. Grandpa Jones arrives banjo high to mask gate markers taped on stage. Creeping vision loss paints corners black, yet he memorizes spotlights like constellations and never misses a fret. Industry fixers feared these imperfections might derail shiny pickup truck fantasies, so they booked fireworks and confetti drops to drown coughs, piped canned screams over breaths, and shipped airbrushed 8x10s where every limp vanished. Bootleg Polaroids still leaked proof through dive bar bulletin boards. Roy A. Cuff popping dislocated fingers back into place, Charlie Pride bracing vertebrae against a doorway, Kitty Wells icing bulging knuckles in a styrofoam cup. Fans rallied instead of recoiling, empathy spiked merch sales, proving humanity vibes louder than myth. Producers scrambled, drafting hush clauses, but the performers kept revising realities. Ronnie Millsap counted strides between console and bench. Don Gibson practiced sidesteps that masked stiffness. Gene Shepard sang atop frozen insoles. And Red Sovine always entered from stage left because the angle hurt less. Payne, as it turned out, was Outlaw Country's secret session player, laying down tracks no session cat could replicate. When Hank Williams Sr. washed codeine with white lightning to dull nerve fires, tabloids cried devil's brew, but insiders whispered pharmacy copays no label wanted to admit. Lefty Frizzell blew lines of hillbilly jet fuel the crew knew was coke, chasing symmetric euphoria he never saw in the mirror. Cannabis smoke drifted from roadside Winnebagos where Jimmy Dean wrote jingles, and everyone pretended it was cedar incense. Darker rumors hum under tour buses. A fiddler who took the self-exit after pills emptied. A steel guitar prodigy who chased dragon dust until veins collapsed. Their names stay unspoken tonight because Nashville law still favors the living over ghosts, yet their shadows prove not every wound finds a healing bridge. What matters is the scars we can see, bent backs, trembling eyes, warped vertebrae, sing their own harmony inside every twang. If a steel guitar bend makes your chest ache good, imagine Hank Snow leaning on a speaker to breathe, or Brenda Lee balanced on that apple box hammering high C like thunder. Clap for crooked spines, shattered hands, tinnitus symphonies, asthma falsettos. Clap for Charlie Pride crooning through fire sharp enough to carve the Opry stage, and for Johnny Cash greeting dawn with a jaw locked tight enough to dent a microphone grill. Like moonshine aged in charred barrels, the flaws give the flavor, and that is why old songs taste like smoke, oak, and iron, because the bodies that poured them out were never stainless. Lean in, listen close, and when the next secret Nashville tried to bury starts humming under the floorboards, remember this litany of hidden grit and stay for the final chord. But before the house lights drop, another verse hums in the rafters. A coda Nashville never scheduled yet can no longer silence. The scars you just traced across vinyl grooves did not vanish when analog hiss surrendered to streaming bit rates. They simply migrated, hiding inside Bluetooth earbuds and TikTok loops where phantom rings still buzz behind high-def filters. The new wave of cowboys and queens inherited more than melodies. They inherited medical charts older than many of their managers. Modern phenoms track heart rates through smartwatches while set lists auto-sync to inhaler alarms. Session singers warm up with physiotherapist-approved stretches behind plywood flats. One rising guitarist sleeps in a traction brace, waking hours before call time so the audience never sees him loosen the screws on his steel halo. Pain, however, is not the villain. Secrecy is. In the 1970s, PR reps whispered words like deformity, the way churchgoers whisper sins, convinced that one visible tremor could tank an album. Today, the same fear smolders behind influencer contracts. Up-and-coming songwriter Ava Apex, label Hush Clause firmly in place, records entire vocal takes lying flat to settle slipped discs, inflamed during a choreography boot camp. Digital edits layer phantom breaths so nobody notices she never actually rose from the studio gurney. Legacy works like that. One broken note becomes someone else's tuning fork. Mel Tillis's stutter birthed a speech pathology scholarship in Tallahassee, now funding doctoral theses on rhythmic fluency. Ronnie Millsap's tactile approach to mixing inspired console prototypes, with Braille-labeled faders debuting at trade shows this year. Kitty Wells's Arthritis Foundation bankrolls fingertip cooling gloves equally useful to surgeons and guitarists. Even darker chapters, Lefty Frizzell chasing coke or Hank Williams balancing codeine on battered vertebrae, spark policy papers on tour bus harm reduction. Institutions can pave roads, yet salvation still happens peer-to-peer. Picture Willie Nelson rolling into a rest stop after midnight to discover a rookie duo icing swollen knees beside a diesel pump. Legend says he handed them ginger turmeric tonic, taught a breathing cadence learned from Buddhist nuns, then drove on before sunrise. The duo later penned a chart-topping ballad titled Midnight Remedy, nodding to a bearded stranger in a gas station glow. Solidarity also bends contracts. The Country Music Association introduced an optional wellness rider in 2023 after session drummers lobbied for ergonomic throne allowances. That template now appears in half the deals filed along Music Row, guaranteeing touring acts access to physiotherapists and accessible dressing rooms. Promoters who balked at cost now tout fewer cancellations, longer merch lines, and live stream numbers boosted by visible authenticity. Yet image managers still cling to denial like glitter glue. One executive told a journalist, "Audiences come for escapism, not X-ray reports." Maybe, but escapism used to compete only with bar chatter. Now it battles CGI dragons and every back catalog on Earth. Vulnerability delivered with meteor strike confidence remains the only unbeatable edge. When Charlie Pride steadied himself on a mic stand, you could feel stadiums inhale with him a communal breath worth more than pyrotechnics. Courage needs context, so rewind to Opry dressing rooms of 1965. They smelled of hairspray, stale coffee, and menthol. Hank Snow braced his palms on a Formica countertop, sweat darkening the felt lining of his hat while he bargained with his spine. Across the hall, Minnie Pearl rehearsed punchlines you'd swear were improvised, each joke timed to land during moments she could shift weight off her aching foot. A teenage intern fetching programs witnessed those rituals, went on to become a physical therapy pioneer, and today oversees Nashville's leading performance rehab clinic. Mirrors matter. When representation hits retina, denial loses traction. Fans pilgrimage to the Ryman and run fingertips along pews polished by generations of restless legs. They hunt proof that imperfection can echo into immortality. They find it in etched initials, the faint smell of camphor behind curtains, archival photos where a splint peeks from under a cuff. The Ryman keeps a climate-controlled drawer of donated artifacts, Roy Acuff's custom grip brace, Kitty Wells's ice tongs, Johnny Cash's bite guard. Tour guides don cotton gloves and display them like relics, because they are. Catalysts ignite both art and activism. After Grandpa Jones revealed worsening vision, he teamed with ophthalmologists to fund mobile eye care vans for rural counties. The program still rolls, upgraded with 3D retinal scanners. Thousands caught degenerative diseases early simply because a banjo player refused to fade quietly. When Jimmy Dean announced scoliosis, he launched a line of supportive mattress toppers stamped with a tiny sausage link logo, both a punchline and a lifeline. Empathy even reshapes merchandise. At a recent arena gig, luthier booths offered weighted picks for tremor-prone hands, while t-shirts printed in tactile ink let low-vision fans read logos by touch. A roadie once taped electrical cords so Gene Shepard wouldn't trip. That grid pattern is now standard. A graphics intern enlarged teleprompter fonts for Patsy Montana and accidentally pioneered dynamic lyric screens. Nashville folklore craves binaries, tragedy or triumph, but real life keeps spinning. Toward the end, Johnny Cash recorded hymns seated in a rocking chair, microphone positioned to minimize jaw strain. Engineers worried fans would revolt. Instead, sales soared, listeners whispering that every restrained syllable felt like confession. Pain did not dull the gospel. It distilled it. Resonance crosses politics and class. Charlie Pride smashing color barriers while hiding scoliosis shows intersectional adversity can shatter systemic bias. His estate funds scholarships for audio engineering students at HBCUs because sometimes equity is who gets to master the track. Gender lines weave too. Kitty Wells negotiated a migraine clause before any male artist dared request softer lighting. Today, female headliners extend that legacy, demanding sensory-friendly zones where neurodivergent fans can sway without overload. Interstates lined with tour buses carry convoy codes. If a bus AC fails in July, the whole line slows. If a vocalist's inhaler empties, someone radios ahead to the nearest 24-hour pharmacy. Drivers swap war stories about lumbar braces and CPAP machines while coffee steeps in dented thermoses. Their camaraderie embodies one statistic promoters finally respect. Healthy crews cut overtime costs. ER visits once sparked cancellation rumors. Now some artists stream from hospital rooms, IV poles flanking gold record plaques. Transparency pulls fans closer. Analytics show ticket spikes after honest health updates because comeback arcs mirror Tuesday bruises and restless Wednesdays. That empathy loop powers crowd-funded albums, Twitch tip jars, and midnight downloads. Money follows least resistance, and nothing lowers resistance like genuine story. Even insurance underwriters reduce premiums for tours adopting wellness riders. Streaming algorithms crave retention, and nothing hooks eyes like a narrative that refuses neat endings. Mel Tillis's timed hesitations spike watch time charts. Authentic stutters beat fake scandals. Labels finally love precedent. Our 23 legends built it vertebra by vertebra. Their trials ensure rookies fainting backstage receive hematologist callbacks within minutes. Learning flips the script. Launch plans now include migraine buffers. Sound checks cater to tinnitus thresholds. Wardrobe departments match compression socks to rhinestones. These tweaks look like footnotes in glossy spreads, yet backstage they mean finishing tours instead of canceling. Finishing isn't always finale. Some legends bowed out early despite every ramp. A window-catching sunrise still aches for that prodigy who chose the self-exit, for the steel-string angel who chased dragon dust past return. Their departures teach the toughest chorus. Some storms outrun even love songs. Mental health panels now headline Americana Fest, therapists sitting beside pedal steel players discussing dopamine alongside D minor. Survivors include you. Each replay, chant, or tip jar drop co-writes the footnote that says imperfection fills arenas. Your headphones amplify unvarnished lives, turning algorithms into mirrors reflecting wheelchairs, stutters, bone spurs, limps, migraines, and stardust. Stardust sticks not despite grit, but because of it. So when neon outside Tootsie's fades to amber and the last pedal steel sighs across an empty avenue, archive this truth in muscle memory. Country music never promised perfect bodies, only honest stories. The 23 legends we trailed tonight tuned honesty through cracked ribs and split knuckles. They broke myths harder than they broke strings, and the echo rumbling your chest is the aftershock of resilience, aging like good oak. Somewhere a stagehand sweeps confetti, knees braced under denim, humming a chorus about a shattered hand that still carved bluegrass lightning. His voice joins an invisible choir stacking harmonies with anyone who ever limped through a key change or swallowed pain like stage whiskey. Together they prove the simplest math in Nashville: wood plus wire plus wound equals wonder. Wonder keeps ticket turnstiles spinning, dashboards glowing, and midnight playlists rolling. Wonder drinks truth like kudzu drinks rain, wild, unstoppable, loud. Let it tangle your conversations, wrap around your private hurts, and teach you this final refrain. The miracle isn't that music survives pain, it's that pain keeps writing the music. Because tomorrow the lights will blaze again, the ticket scanners will beep, and somebody with tremoring fingers will press pick to string, believing the room can't possibly love a flawed note. Your job is to prove them wrong. When you replay this story, don't whisper it, belt it like a chorus that refuses to fade. Tell the teenager practicing in an echoing garage that a shaky breath is not a disqualification, it's seasoning. Tell the cashier, scribbling lyrics on a receipt that bruised knuckles are manuscript ink. Tell the veteran road dog rubbing menthol on aching calves that the crowd is already chanting his name. Tell the choir kid hiding an inhaler that lungs are bellows, not liabilities. Tell the vinyl collector who fears failing ears that rhythm lives in the ribcage long after cymbals blur. So pass the legend forward. Share the playlist with someone nursing taped wrists. Gift earplugs to a friend afraid of ringing silence. Tip the busker who sits while singing because standing hurts today. Let every small kindness become a backstage pass stamped with permission to keep going. And as the final string settles, inhale the hush that follows. Inside that silence live every cough muffled by pyrotechnics, every inhaler click between verses, every heartbeat counting measures the drummer never heard. They're all here, woven into the same enduring chord you carry home. Hold it close, tune your own rough edges against its resonance, and when the world demands flawlessness, answer with grit, groove, and the gospel of persistence. Music will echo the reply because resilience always finds the microphone. Remember the secret math we learned in this neon cathedral. Imperfection times courage equals art, and art multiplied by listening equals change. Keep running that equation until the night itself starts humming along with you again and again, louder each sunrise.